That's what I turned it on. Good evening and welcome to tonight's City of Burnside Council meeting on October the 21st, 2025. Please stand if you are able and remain silent during the acknowledgements. We acknowledge that the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today, and we welcome other First Nations people to our meeting. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to all those who have sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. We also consider in our thoughts all those who today are being affected by war around the globe, and especially those in Ukraine and the Middle East. We seek guidance as we in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all who reside, study, work in or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be seated. Just some reminders, because it has been a month. Questions should be clear and succinct and not debated. I wait until I call you to speak according to the cue on my screen. Please remember to turn your microphone off when you finish speaking and refrain from talking or making comments while a council member or staff member is addressing the chamber. Be cognisant of behavioural standards when you speak and particularly respectful of visitors and of each other. Now I will move to the agenda, and we have an apology from Councillor Hubel. Declaration of interest will come later as appropriate. That's timing. Confirmation of minutes, I seek a mover. Councillor Jennings, you're moving. I need a seconder. Councillor Cornish, all those in favour of the minutes? Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Adjourned business, we don't have any public presentations. We have no one asking questions for public question time, but we do welcome a presentation this evening from Joan Russell, who's on the board of the Burnside Retirement Services Incorporated, and I'll ask her if you'd like to come forward to the table in the middle there, Joan. And take a seat. Make yourself comfortable. And you might like to just, yeah, that's a good idea, and then you might like to just line up with the microphone. Thank you. When you're ready, you can start, and welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors, visitors. I'm Joan Russell, and I am currently the Deputy Chair of the Board of Burnside Retirement Services Incorporated, trading as Pineview Village.
You can sit, John. Okay.
Wait for it.
Wait for it, okay.
And I come bearing gifts. Secretary? Six copies of the recently professionally published Resident Handbook, and very nice it is too. And 2 copies of the strategic plan, which will become relevant later. So maybe one for each side. And one only to Madam Mayor, the prospectus for anybody considering going to live at Pineview. So are you the person I negotiate with to change slides?
No, you just give a nod over that way.
So, first slide. This evening's presentation moves between 3 topics. Firstly, Burnside Retirement Services Incorporated, BRSI, Burnside Village, and the City of Burnside, which will be referred to as council. If I'm talking about the management and administrative authority, I will say BRSI, and if I'm talking about the residential facilities, I will call that the village. Next. BRSI, or Burnside Residential Services Incorporated, is an incorporated association under the South Australian Associations Incorporation Act 1985. The City of Burnside, that is the council, is the sole member of that incorporated association. BRSI is a standalone legal entity, not a regional subsidiary of council. I beg your pardon, please excuse me. I'm very sorry, that's a rookie's mistake. So let me reiterate, BRSI is a standalone legal entity, separate standalone legal entity, and not a regional subsidiary of council. BRSI is a not-for-profit agency, which does not impede it from making a profit, but it does mean that it cannot provide financial returns to council, and that in the event of winding up, any outstanding funds need to be distributed under certain strict rules which are laid out in the rules and also referred to in the Associations Incorporation Act. Any surplus generated is to be reinvested in the village to the benefit of the residents. The village, Pineview, is run by an independent board, that is the board of BRSI, and supported by an active residents committee. Residents have a strong relationship with the board and with the staff and have an influential voice in decision making at Pineview. The specific role of BRSI is in accordance with the objects from the rules. I've got rules or constitution there because in effect what BRSI has is called the rules, but it is a constitution, and I've given you the reference should you need to check it. Firstly, the role of the BRSI board is to provide, maintain and manage the accommodation for residents in accordance with the rules and with any directions from council. Also, to provide, maintain and manage residential accommodation for those persons 55 years and over whom the board considers qualified for entry into the facilities of the association. That is, the first one is about the housing stock. The second one is about eligible residents. That is, BRSI's role is to manage Pineview Village at arm's length from council, thereby providing council with the appropriate level of legal and probity protection. The board's function is set down in the rules, and again, reference point, and it says, the board is responsible for the administration of the affairs of the association, including, without limitation, the management and control of funds and property of that association. This duty is achieved through board and committee meetings, directing executive staff, and implementing the strategic plan. There are 6 board members, one of whom is appointed as the chair. In addition to regular board meetings, board members meet at the Governance and Risk Management Committee and the Finance and Audit Committee. BRSI has operated an unsustainable business model with unit pricing misaligned to market values, residence fees failing to cover service costs, no long-term maintenance funds held over, insufficient capital for necessary upgrades, ongoing subsidisation of resident expenses, and inadequate staff resources to address legacy issues and improve village operations. Under the current administration, we have transformed BRSI into a sustainable model by securing an independent village valuation, restructuring the management team to better support residents and strategic initiatives, aligning residents' fees to actual costs in partnership with the City of Burnside, establishing a long-term maintenance fund, and encouraging a wealth program to grow funds for future investments. Back one. Okay. Do you want to hear about Joan Russell? Joan Russell spent 20 years at the executive level in the South Australian Public Service, where she was known for her commitment to ethics, integrity, equity, diversity, social justice, and management improvement. I was appointed in 2022, and under the current rules would be able to reapply for this position for another 2 terms. Levi Mitchell, who is the current chair, was appointed in 21 and has retired and stepped down. Levi joined the board in 2021 and became chair in mid-22. Levi is a Fellow of the Governance Institute of Australia, a Fellow of the Australian and New Zealand Institute of Insurance and Finance, and a graduate of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Levi holds a Master of Laws, specialising in enterprise governance, and a Master of Business Administration, as well as qualifications in governance, risk and compliance, financial crime, and insurance. Amy Jones, who was also appointed in 2022, is a Fellow of the Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand and a Chartered Tax Advisor with over 18 years of experience providing advice and guidance to businesses to achieve their financial goals. I'm going to diverge from the script here and say that Amy Jones has a lovely story. As a young accountant graduate, she was employed by McMahon's and became their chief financial advisor. After she'd worked for them in that position for 8 years, they created a position specially for her as the chief executive of their family company, their family investment company. So in 2018, when she took on the role of chief executive for McMahon Investments, she was looking after a broad range of operations specifically for the family. And middle bottom row, Eleanor Muller has 15 years of experience in business transformation for aged care providers and retirement villages. She is the Managing Director of Time Makers Consulting, a member of the Australian Institute of Company Directors and AISA, and Vice President of the Career Development Association of Australia, South Australian Chapter. Eleanor is recognised as an emerging leader. It was recognised in 2022 and nominated for the Under 40s Awards in 2020 and 2021. Jock Berry, bottom left. Jock Berry is a senior executive and people leader with broad experience in the property industry from working with private, state and local government and defence sectors. He's currently the National Property Manager for Beyond Bank Australia and has a Bachelor of Business in Property from the University of South Australia. And finally, Ian Stone, who may well be known to some of you. Ian Stone joined the board this year. He's a strong leader with over 30 years of experience working as a CEO and non-executive director across some of Australia's most recognised organisations. As Chief Executive of the RAA for 15 years until 2022, Ian built up the organisation to new strengths in areas of membership, satisfaction, employee satisfaction and revenue. And I think you have one slide which has one person on it. No, okay. So here you have Trish Dixon, the recently appointed Executive Manager. BRSI employs 4 staff members, an Executive Manager, Trish Dixon, Resident Liaison Manager, Michael Vullings, a Maintenance Officer and a part-time and a Finance Officer, part-time. The role of the Executive Manager is to ensure high standards are maintained for the ongoing success of the village, as well as the well-being and happiness of its residents. The Resident Liaison Manager is the key contact for residents, their families and stakeholders. He prioritises and promotes the well-being and happiness of residents also. Part of Trish Dixon's role is to serve the board as its secretary. Next. On to the Pineview Strategic Plan. Next. The current strategic plan goes from 2023 to 2028. At a planning day attended by the former Chief Executive, decisions were made about such things as the strategic planners by coming to consensus after discussion. There you have the strategic planners which were decided, pillars which were decided: reputation, sustainability, infrastructure and community. Next, the values that were decided, again by consensus, were honesty, consistency, innovation, accountability and inclusion. I know that many of you will have been involved in strategic planning exercises, and many of you will also have gone back later and discovered that it seemed to have been a lot of hollow talk. I can assure you that what you see on this slide, values, vision and mission, are very real and are present at every board meeting. The vision of BRSI is to aspire to be the industry leader, fostering a strong sense of community and supporting choice in retirement living. The mission of BRSI is to provide high-quality accommodation to support retirees to live independently within a thriving village community. I won't go through this one, but just to point out that careful statistics are kept, and the statistics that are kept are used to inform decisions. So, did everybody get a chance to read that one? One of the most interesting things is the circular chart on the right, which shows the distribution of age. So you've got in the 85 to 90 range, the majority of residents. Bear that in mind, because of course statistics like that are going to shape decision making about the future of Pineview Village.
Excuse me, I just need to seek an extension of time because the 15 minutes is over. But I do know that everyone around the table is interested in continuing, but I just need an indication that you are happy for her to continue. Just a hand raised. Thank you very much. Please continue.
I'll talk a lot faster. The next slide. Next. There's the statistics that you may or may not have seen before. The village has 83 units on a campus of 3.34 hectares, 8 basic designs, some of them with modifications. The average length of tenure is 7 years. The village operates at all times pretty much with 99% occupancy. There are 35 people with expressions, well, people and couples, with expressions of interest on the waiting list, and the average waiting time is 18 months. When a unit is turned over, it is extensively refurbished, most usually in consultation with an interested buyer. Now, some of you will be aware that there was some dissatisfaction around refurbishment recently, and I can't but agree with you. When I first saw it, before it was fully finalised, I thought it was pretty ugly as well. But I have to say that it was more than just a refurbishment. It was a thoughtful and intentional step by BRSI towards ensuring that the village remains contemporary, attractive, and responsive to current and future resident needs. That was a conscious decision taken. And when I saw it painted up, particularly because there are 2 adjacent units, it was okay. And I could see the purpose. And in fact, I would live in that one. So the next. Effective communication with residents is ensured through varied channels, including targeted initiatives and continuous resident feedback. There's a list of the sorts of things that BRSI does to stay in touch with the residents. I've passed around the beautiful new resident handbook, which was professionally printed and put together with extensive, elaborate consultation with the residents themselves. And resident feedback throughout the year is provided by regular satisfaction surveys. The most recent survey indicated a high level of satisfaction, that is 77.8%, and a strong sense of community and security. The professionalism of management and responsiveness of the maintenance crew were both praised, and interestingly, the results for satisfaction for people who have moved in, we do a survey at 6 weeks, was 99%. So BRSI just doesn't sit there and make arm's length decisions. It is effectively and extensively involved with the residents on an ongoing basis. The administration, through staff, provides a range of programs designed to tap into residents' interests and to make sure that it's a stimulating environment and that the sense of community is supported. There you have 4 different adventures that residents are invited to take part in. There's a course currently running on IT for retirees, which has about 40 attendees. There's an intergenerational visiting program with Conningham Childcare Centre 3 times a year, where the children come over and engage in dancing or art or play with the residents. There's recently been established a good contact with Victoria Grove Management in an attempt to include residents of Pine View in the concert program. And finally, 5 Good Friends has been invited onto campus, and they engaged with residents not through the administration. That's directly with residents and support in-home care. And finally, Council's role in BRSI. We've all been working on the rules. So I am certain that you've all read the rules in detail. Here's a summary of the role of council as a sole member of BRSI, that sole member as defined in the Associations Incorporation Act, and the role is set down in the rules of the association, that is BRSI. Council is to abide by the rules of the association, give direction to BRSI as required, appoint board members to the BRSI board, determine remuneration upon recommendation of the board, nominate a representative of council to attend the AGM, that's currently Martin Cooper, and propose suitable recipients of BRSI's funds in the event of winding up, and alter the rules. If you read the rules, that's BRSI's role described in detail. And finally, BRSI has a committed, hard-working, skilled and experienced board, a dedicated and competent staff, visionary strategic plan, and a strong policy framework. We also operate on an ethical operational framework. We have just been reinstated for the second time to the Code of Practice for management of retirement villages. Under the current administration, BRSI is well placed for the future. By establishing a culture of strategic direction, financial discipline and mature governance, the board has ensured that BRSI not only manages financial and operational risks, but places the welfare of staff, residents and visitors at the centre of its decision-making. It's our hope and expectation that BRSI's relationship with Council continues to be one of mutual respect and satisfaction. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Joan. I'll now offer the opportunity for people to ask questions, and I've got someone on the screen already, Councillor Dawes.
Thank you, Joan. Bronnie, could you just go to the second slide for me? And I know it's in also Rule 7.1. Oh, third slide, it must be, sorry. It says there, about the council, you also will follow any directions of council. Perhaps it's the fourth slide. I'm just having it, can't see it there. There it is. To provide, maintain and manage the accommodation for residents in accordance with the rules and any directions of council. Can you give me some examples of directions of council that the board has followed?
No, I can't.
So we've never directed the board at all?
That's not true, but please remember that I've only had part of one term,
yep.
Right? But I can give you a really good example that there was a third role that I didn't put up there because it was long and etc. And that is that BRSI, at Council's direction, has the capacity to offer social justice or humanitarian accommodation.
Yes,
which could be at a subsidised rent or whatever. Council may very well decide to do something like that, acknowledging that it would reduce income, etc. That would be a direction from Council that would be followed by BRSI.
Thank you, Joan.
Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Joan, for coming in. And we've learnt more in the last 20 minutes and the rest of time. My question is, from the recent information given to us, we understand that there's a residents group at Pineview, and you talked about their contact with the management, but can you tell us what forum is available for the residents to interact with the board?
It'll be systemic rather than direct.
Do you ever have social functions with them? Or
We
anything like-
certainly do. Have you ever been to a BRSI, to a village, Pineview Village Christmas party?
No?
It's a wild event. I can answer that in several ways. There's a regular residents meeting, and before a residents committee meeting, before every committee meeting, the committee is provided with a full report from management, tabled in time for analysis and discussion. So they get a report from management for every management meeting, direct contact. 2 representatives of the staff go to morning teas. They turn up whenever invited for any other events. Someone went this afternoon to the annual general meeting, the residents' annual general meeting, and we are always invited. Members of the board are always invited and always attend social events such as the Christmas party.
Thank you. May I ask another question?
I'll move on and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you for coming. Can I ask about the visionary strategic plan? Now, the buildings must be approaching 50 years old.
40 years old. Can I say something nice about that? There's just about to be an anniversary party, which will be attended by someone who was an original resident. 40 years anniversary.
So the buildings are 40 years old.
40 years old.
So they're getting on a bit.
They certainly are.
You're occupying a highly strategic site on Greenhill Road,
Indeed.
3.5 hectares.
Indeed.
The last annual accounts I've got are 2023, and you had $6 million in investments, so you're obviously saving up for something.
Oh, that's my holiday.
What is... What is the plan? The buildings are coming to the end of their life. You're obviously saving up $6 million, which presumably is now more. What is the board's plan?
The board's plan is to have enough in reserve to meet refurbishment needs, to maintain and upgrade the site as it is. There are no plans at present to extend it or effectively change it. So the money is held in trust for the residents, for the maintenance and ongoing needs of the village itself. The board has, apart from the remuneration paid for doing this sort of thing, the board has nothing from that account, and it only pays the bills.
Now, Councillor Towell.
Is that somebody else?
Sorry, I've got a couple of people on the list before them.
I know you are there.
Turnbull, you're
So me now, again, for number 2. Can you tell me, please, what are the reasons for the board to be seeking increased tenure from 6 to 9 years, and how does the board propose to balance long-term entrenchment and renewal and new ideas?
That's an excellent question, because there's nothing annoys me more than people who sit on boards and don't bugger off. Right. 2 years, it has been found to be very awkward because we're stuck. We have been trying to do, you know, the half Senate rising system, where you don't get rid of everybody at once because you'd be left with a blank slate. So we've been trying to manage half and half, and 2 years makes it very difficult. We have been managing it, so 2 people come off and 2 people go on, etc. 3 years, there's nothing sinister about it. The extension of the term for 3 years is simply to facilitate the management of proper continuity and service. And that would give us a maximum of 9 years instead of a maximum of 6. I mean, I'm sure you've been in contact with community organisations where members sit on the board for 22 years. I certainly have.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Thank you for coming along tonight. It was very good of you to step up and come along to meet with us. We've been waiting a while. I've got a couple of questions, but the first one is, as you'd be aware, we're undertaking currently a review of the BRSI. They're called rules. I think they probably should be a constitution to give it its full professional context. And I thank you very much for these documents you've brought along tonight to inform us. I think what I'm keen to see is that we clarify the relationship. I respect what you've just presented to us and the relationship, but there were some frustrations about the amount and the quality of the information we were getting, because while you rightly outline council's role, we still have a governance responsibility in terms of the finances and to make sure that the systems that are in place are there to manage all of those. So one of the key issues that has arisen is complaints directly to us from community members. So that's what triggered a lot of interest. So have you now got systems in place, effective systems, to make sure that all of the residents feel they're able to have a say in the running of the village and any concerns they have? And are minutes kept of the meetings, and are these issues recorded? Sorry, it's a bit long-winded, but thank you.
Yes, I'll have to try and remember the parts of that question. First of all, there have always been systems. If people choose to come directly to their elected representative, that's a compliment to you. It means that they feel that they can approach you. You would know that somebody making a complaint in the community is often shy of standing out. So it may be a question of anonymity, and I'm just making that up. I don't know, but it does occur to me. There's an anonymous complaints and suggestions box, always operational. Michael Bullings, the resident liaison officer, is held in very high esteem on campus in the village. He goes around and he shakes hands and kisses babies and eats scones and has cups of tea and collects an enormous amount of incredibly intimate, important detail. People speak to him openly. They can always go to the residents' committee and put in a written or even just spoken suggestion or complaint, and that will be referred directly to the board through Michael. And the 2 staff members that go regularly to morning teas are only there to listen. There have always been systems in place for dissatisfactions or compliments, and we get plenty of those to come directly to the board.
Councillor Cornish.
Sorry, if I could just add to that. I think there is some work to do in terms of improving the process around council's representative on the board, which is currently myself. I think as council members are contacted by concerned residents, then very welcome for those complaints and issues to be directed through to me, because my intention with that would be to speak to Trish and Michael in the first instance to see whether we can get the issues resolved. If it's a matter for the board, then I'm also in a position to do that. But it does rely on that information coming through to me to be able to do that. I'm very happy to report back to you and, if necessary, the whole council in terms of what those resolutions are. And that's something I don't think has been used particularly well and probably not communicated well. Okay, thank you.
Would you say that you have been kept adequately informed?
Very much so, yeah, it's been excellent.
So it's the next step
It's
that we need to work on.
It's the next step, and also adding to that, I think, with the upcoming AGM on the 24th of November, at the end of this week, I believe the papers will be circulated for that in
Correct.
compliance with the 21 days notice.
Correct.
My intention is to share that with all of you in confidence so that you have an opportunity to review those and raise any questions you'd like me to raise on council's behalf. Okay, it shouldn't just me reviewing those, I'm happy to do that, but it's important that all of you are across those and know that your representative will take those issues up with the board at the AGM. All right.
I am concerned about the time, and I have 3 people on my list to speak, to ask questions. I'm going to go through those questions, and then any other questions that people may have, we'll take on notice. You can forward them to Martin, and Martin will follow those up with Joan. So Peter Cornish on it.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Joan, for coming in. Just to clarify, Councillor Jones asked a question about the finances. How did the finances actually work, just so we've got a understanding? You've obviously got some money invested, and you said it was in trust. Could you explain how that all works for us?
I'm not going to go into the BRSI finances in this forum. This is a public forum and it's being instantly streamed. much wider than any of us can control. So thank you for your question. You might like to put it through the Mayor on notice.
Councillor Joan.
So the board member fees are nearly $1,000 a resident, presumably borne by these elderly people. Why don't we just get rid of the board and have the executive manager report to Mr Cooper? And we can save $100,000 a year in board fees and all the oversight can be done by council.
Well, indeed, indeed. I'd like to say two things. The reason I took up your time in introducing you to the board members was so that you would understand what sort of a bang you get for your buck. What you have in those 6 board members is an inestimable and extraordinarily valuable and, by the way, expensive resource. I can tell you that the last time I worked, my fees were almost $1,000 an hour, and I am now working for you. Secondly, it is possible for council to take over BRSI, to dismiss the board. And I know that you've been informed about how that could happen, why it might happen, and what would be the fallout. In order for that to happen, BRSI would effectively have to be sold, in a sense. No longer constituted under the Associations Incorporation Act, but come in as a subsidiary under the Local Government Act. The legalities, the costs, and the probity of that would tie the council up in knots for a very long and expensive ride. That's the actual answer to your question.
Councillor Turnbull, last question.
Last question. Can you explain what decisions the board makes, and we have some examples of what decisions you actually make rather than the day-to-day running of the residential managers?
Right. Let me think back to the minutes of the last board meeting. One of the recent decisions was a decision to increase the amount of fees paid by people expressing an interest. So that's a financial one. A decision has been made about the level and direction of security around the housing units. A decision about what type, what style, what level of complexity. I won't go into it, but essentially there's been a broad-scale reissue of security fobs. That's another one. BRSI, the board that is, makes decisions on matters brought to it from the executive staff, like which way would the board prefer to go on whatever matter it is. We were involved on request from the management and residents with the design of the new entryway off Conningham Street, that kind of thing. But the most difficult ones are ones about governance, decisions about governance and risk management made in the committee, or about finance and audit made in the committee. That's smaller groups. And it was in the Finance and Audit Committee that decision about aiming for a certain level of held investment to ensure that there was a clear, safe platform of operation for BRSI and a safe future in terms of maintenance, expansion, upgrades, etc. of the village. That's the sort of thing. And under governance, the role of the Governance Committee, for instance, is to receive regular reports on various forms of compliance, from occupational health and safety through to the new Retirement Villages Act, and make decisions about where BRSI stands on that, how, when, and how much we will invest in terms of resources. They're management and they're above management decisions. We give direction, management implements.
Can I say thank you very much on behalf of the council for you coming in this evening, Joan. We appreciate your time and your effort and the presentation that you've provided us with. And thank you. You may depart whenever you feel like you wish like to leave. And I'll just get Martin to turn your mic off before we move.
And I'd like to thank the council for your active involvement and for your interested attention. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Joan.
Sorry, Councillor Wilkins, I did say there are only...
Yep, that's fine. I just want to know how many members of the board live in Burnside.
That's a simple question. If necessary, you can reply to Martin. All right.
Thank you. That would be appreciated.
Thank you. All right, so we need to move on with this meeting. Thank you. And I'm going to go through the reports and see who wishes to withdraw them. 11.1, so response to the petition. Councillor Davey. Councillor Wilkins, you turn your microphone off, please. Councillor Davey, thank you. 11.2, Draft Disability Access and Inclusion Plan. I seek a mover. Sorry, Councillor Wilkins, you wish to...
No, sorry, I'm not for this one.
Councillor Jennings.
I wish to move it.
You wish to move it? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And I just take the opportunity to say thank you to the staff for the development of the plan. 11.3, the draft precinct plan for Dulwich, Rose Park, Toorak Gardens, Fruiville, Dillunga and Eastwood. Councillor Henschke, you wish to move it? Sorry, you wish to withdraw it? Thank you.
No.
Appointment of council members, we have to do this one. I'd seek someone to move it, please. Councillor Jennings. Also the same with that one. The next one, the appointment of council members and independent. Councillor Davey. Finance end of the month. I seek a Councillor Davey, are you withdrawing it?
Thank you.
Mayor's activity report. Seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, thank you. Councillor Hallett, seconding. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Chief Executive's report. Councillor Henschke. Right, shall we go back to 11.1 on page 27? Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a slightly amended motion. Can I get someone in the staff to read this out, please? And then I'll start my timing for my speech.
Mayor, the motion is that Council notes, number one, notes the finding of the Beulah Park Parking Study Report of September 2025 by Sprout PL. 2, notes the changes identified and recommended in response to the study, including staged introduction of resident permits, timed parking restrictions, physical access improvements, and enforcement measures. 3, proceeds with community consultation commencing in accordance with the staged timed parking restrictions recommended in Table 1, with Stage 1 focused on resident permits with the aim to implement agreed actions by mid-January 2026, subject to consultation outcomes. And number 4, approves the consequential implementation of Stages 2 and 3 of time-restricted or restricted parking zones with resident permit exemptions in identified high-demand areas as proposed in the Sprout report provided at Attachment 1 to Report 2025-588.
Thank you very much. It all sounds very complex and complicated, and probably to our community it sounds complex. It is following the petition from the local residents. a response to the difficulties they were finding to park in their very narrow streets near their homes, and because they were having their cars sideswiped, and they were also very concerned and having difficulties with access for their rubbish trucks and rubbish collection, and we're also very concerned about access for emergency vehicles, for rescue vehicles in case of emergency. So the Glyde Street area, as you will see from the report, has many narrow streets, single-fronted homes, and many don't have off-street parking. Recent changes to business in the main thoroughfares, particularly the Parade, have meant that parking has been pushed back into the suburbs, right through to Beulah Road. And all-day parking spaces are being increasingly sought for the large and small businesses in the area. So Sprout consultants were appointed, and they've undertaken a very comprehensive study of all the issues, done some monitoring of parking habits, turnover of parking, and traffic speeds. So I think in terms of, and there's a very detailed report which is included in the agenda papers, which presents a significant amount of work and approach that we can use within the master planning that we're doing for our traffic and parking across Burnside. Because the challenge that we all have is if you make changes in one area, it has an impact on other consequent changes on other areas. So it's a delicate balance. So I think this is a good compromise that we start the implementation and introduce some residential permits so that residents can have some idea and comfort that they will be able to park near their homes and that there won't be all-day parking there obstructing their coming and going near their homes. So I hope you'll support this. It's very detailed in terms of what will progress, but I was very keen to see that this start reasonably quickly so that we get it underway. Of course, we've got Christmas coming up, but any changes do need a period of community consultation. So I'm keen to see that this enables community consultation as soon as possible so that we get a feel for the residents' ideas and concerns, if they have any. And hopefully they will approve of this and then we can progress it. So thank you for your support, hopefully.
Just before I get the seconder, I'm assuming that's Councillor Wilkins, is this doable, these additions? Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Wilkins, do you wish to speak now?
Yes, I will actually. I will speak in support of Councillor Davies' motion simply because it mirrors everything we have in Eastwood, as you all know. And the residential parking has been excellent in our area, and the Rangers are terrific in actually assisting the residents in their parking when they don't have driveways, when they have competing interests of workers, tradies, in and around our suburbs, which are in commercial building zones, etc. So happy to support this motion because it also mirrors what happens on the other side of town. And thank you for all the work that you do in both areas. Thank you. Happy to support.
Councillor Dawes.
I have a couple of questions for administration with the change to the motion. With the new number 3, I've read that stage 1, which Councillor Davey would like to have by mid-January 2026, has no budget implications. Is that a yes or a no? And I have a second question to follow up.
Through the Mayor, the report dictates a small amount for consultation and signage, but it could be managed within existing operational budgets.
So no budget implications. And the second one is the word in number 4, consequential implementation. In the report, they talk about conditional implementation. depending on how stage 1 goes. So by putting the word consequential, do you take that to mean that will happen no matter what, or it's the same as conditional?
Through the Mayor, because it also includes as proposed in the Sprout report, and the Sprout report talks about overflow or demand. If that spills to the following streets, that's when we'll do a similar process. But the report talks about doing surveys at 6 months' point, so we'll have a look to see how the traffic conditions or the parking conditions have changed over that time. So no, it won't definitely happen. It will only happen if required.
Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
I've got a question in regard to whether we can meet the mid-January 26 timeline, given that don't we close down over January, more or less, the council? And we've got to fit Christmas in as well, and all that lead-up time, and our residents then going to criticise us because we're consulting at the wrong time of the year. So it's just, is that achievable? I don't have an issue with the addition of that, it's just the date.
Through the Mayor, Councillor Davey consulted with me before submitting the alternate motion, and we were comfortable that we believe we can make that time frame. The consultation itself is reasonably straightforward. We can get that completed by mid-November. It then just relies on the team being available, the signs being ordered and then put into place. We believe we can do it by mid-January. Obviously, if there's a delay, then we'll let council know, but we believe we can do it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to come back to you, Councillor Davey, now then.
Thank you everyone for your queries and issues. As I've said, and as the report articulates, the proposed parking changes are low risk or positive across all categories and align with Council's strategic priorities and risk appetite. This project is based on a comprehensive parking study and responds directly to community concerns raised through the petition. The project supports Council's commitment to safety, service sustainability and community wellbeing, with no identified risks exceeding the risk appetite. So we've made a couple of tweaks. I think we've welcomed a new staff member who's got a lot of capabilities in this area, and we've got a program on page 30 of the staged time parking restrictions. It's all been worked out very professionally, so I think we've got a good program in place to test with the community, and I hope you'll support it. Thank you.
All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Yes, there should have been. It was Councillor Wilkins. Yes, it is. Yeah. Mr. Cant, perhaps you might like to introduce your staff member on your far left, because not everybody around the table knows who he is.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nico Burris is our new Coordinator of Traffic and Assets and Traffic's one of the two, working with Rebecca's team, and he's been with us now for coming up for 6 months, I believe. So yeah, hit the ground running.
Thank you very much indeed. All right, thank you for your documentation. All right, and now we can move to 11.3, page 94, and that was to be Councillor Henschke.
I'd like to move with the officer's recommendation, but wanted to provide, allow the Chamber to perhaps reflect on the extensive work that was done over the last few years, nuances in Eastwood, Dulwich Rose Park, Toorak Gardens, wards with suburbs in the inner city zone that are increasingly under pressure due to traffic and parking and densification of the inner city zone. So this is good work of council to anticipate and manage these pressures, to maintain amenity in these historic overlays, establish neighbourhood zones, and keep a safe community that can walk and ride bikes safely to school, support the families. So without further ado, 70 pages of of quite nuanced information that's come from the community that the engineers with the administration have developed into concepts, and this work is recommended for release now to the community for consultation, and then it will be concluded in the early part of next year, and we can get on with these things. So that's all I really wanted to say, and I hope you all support it.
And Councillor Cornish, I'm assuming you're seconding?
I will second and reserve my right. Thank you.
All right. I don't have anyone on the screen. Now I do. Councillor Dave.
Thank you. I have a question. And yes, congratulations to the staff for all the work. It's a huge body of work that's involved in all of these studies. I should have asked it in the last item, but it's come up again here, and it's an initiative of council. It's about the Good Neighbour parking campaign and how that is progressing and how we're going to introduce that and when. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, it's still in the early stages of development. It's an initiative that we've come up with in the last few months. You will have heard Julia talking about the Love Where You Live campaign. We have a workshop scheduled on, I believe it's the second week in November, and that's looking at specifically the City Master Plan Code amendments, progression of that, but we're also going to introduce the Love Where You Live campaign, which will also feature the Good Neighbourhood programme at that stage. So we'll introduce that to council members initially in the second week in November, and then we'll take it on from there.
Councillor Jones.
I'm just question, please. I'm just looking at page 72 and the list of 28 projects, which I have to say is very thorough. What is the total cost that we are up for if we were to press go on all these projects?
Just to confirm, Councillor Jones, my 72 is the draft access and inclusion plan.
Sorry, I've got this one here. It says 72.
Oh, 72 of the actual attachment. Or do we have an actual page for that?
137 of 330. Sorry, that's in the...
One of the difficult things about this programme is that we have come up with potential solutions for a number of initiatives or issues that have been identified by the community. There can be quite simple solutions, but there can also be quite expensive and convoluted traffic engineering solutions. And until we actually get to the full detailed design as part of that process, we're unable to give you an accurate figure. However, acknowledging that council needs to understand those that are expensive solutions, we have given the system of the $3 signs as part of that process to give an indication. What we will look to do, though, as we roll this out through the next 10, 20 years, we will look to do that as part of the annual business budget process, and we will firm up figures at that process, at that time, to give council more accurate information.
Can I ask a supplementary? Or
may I just... CEO's got something to say first. Through the Mayor. So if you looked at the dollar signs and what they're saying, that there's many millions of dollars of projects on that page, but this is what we are, it's strategic planning into the future, and of course we have the annual budget process, but we also have many other levels of government grant programs, and even the work on the bicycle plan that we have, and meeting with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport. There's interest in the Birkin Street bike pass over Green Hill Road. So these are the types of things, when you have these plans in place and they're pretty much either a concept plan or even you get into more detailed design, they're pretty much ready to go and you can advocate for those. So while they will be
put into annual budget plans as and when they arise in a matter of priority. They also help shape our approach in election and budget periods into other levels of government.
All right, Councillor Jones, you can have a second question.
So look, I understand that, and that's very sensible, but this plan only covers most of 2 wards, which means there's another 4 wards. I don't want to be launching, or I'm trying to make this a question, when are we going to get the other 4 ward plans so that we're not launching into spending on, in my view, already well-served wards as compared to some others?
Through the Mayor, the City Master Plan talked to the priorities of these precinct plans. So that's why we've done these wards first, as resolved by Council. The next area for this precinct planning is currently underway, and it's in Councillor Zing's and Davies' ward, and that's ready to be presented in 2026. If I recall correctly, there were other wards that we were planning to do this financial year and next, and that was put through as a budget bid as part of the current budget process. But Council elected not to do those at those stage, so they will come back at a future time. But we'll try again for next budget. That will be a Council decision whether they approve that at that stage.
Thank you.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Aaron and Barry and the rest of the team. I think this is excellent. You have integrated parking, which is a massive concern, and active transport. This is a great step, and I'm happy to support it. Well done. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to support the staff's immense amount of work they've done to get this far. This first started back in 2003 when I was first on council, about traffic safety, resident safety in our inner city neighbourhoods, in our heritage areas. So I'm all about improving the safety for residents, whether it's parking or children or oldies in our community. We have, since the, shall I say, the Arkaba Corner upgrade and Cedar Woods across the road, we have been experiencing, this is in Eastwood of course, the whole suburb is the heritage zone. We have everybody's fed up to the teeth with the unsafe area that we have in our neighbourhoods, with speeding and cut-through traffic. And I have great thanks to the staff who worked with the traffic engineers to actually come up with this plan, which we want to do in a planned, sustainable way to actually save our heritage in our inner city neighbourhoods. And the resident safety and the cyclists, and we also have integrated into this and as the CEO alluded to, working with our advocacy plan for the signalised crossing at Birkin Street across into the Parklands, which is a nominated bike route down my street in Elizabeth Street, Eastwood. I have seen so many near misses with children on cycles or residents walking or people riding their bike before, but certainly I don't want to see anybody in an accident. So local traffic signs didn't work, and hopefully when you get to point 18 on page 97, when we have a 6-month trial of temporary road closure in Main Street, residents will see an improved amenity and safety in their neighbourhood. And I thank the staff for continuing to this point where we come to council and say, please approve this because we need it. Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I have a question. Mr. Catt advised us that there's going to a workshop that's already proposed I'm just very aware that we're getting into the busiest time of the year, with Christmas only a couple of weeks away, and I keep hearing that workshops are being scheduled. It would be really helpful if we could have a schedule of what's proposed so that we can get it into our diaries, because we haven't had workshops for ages, perhaps about a year, and so we used to have every second Tuesday or Tuesdays blocked out for them. That's not the case anymore, so it would be really much appreciated if we could have a schedule of proposed workshops, if that could be organised.
Councillor Cornish?
I just checked. I can confirm it's been put in your calendars, so you've definitely received an invitation to them, but we'll ensure that we send out a schedule to you shortly.
Right, now Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Just wanted to thank you guys for the work, and I'd also like to thank for the indication with the dollar signs in there. I think for consultation, it's one thing that the community, you know, loves some projects, but they might not love it when it comes with a big price tag. And to give some sort of indication when some of those projects are quite large, they might say, no, that we don't need that in our area. So I'm quite happy that you've gone and included that in there, and I'll just like thank you for the years of work that have gone into there, the surveys, all the different important groups that you've gone and consulted to get all of the information to put in there. It's an incredible document, so I just wanted to thank you for that.
Councillor Jones?
Yeah, I'll speak, Matt. I think it's a good report. My two concerns are, one, if you put it out to the public, it will develop expectations that we're going to spend money doing these things. And the second, it's inequitable. Not for the first time on this council, I feel like a poor relation living in the hills, looking down at all this work being done elsewhere. So what I would say is put it on the website so people can have a look at it. Don't spend $20,000 doing mail-outs and things, just have it out there and people can have a look at it. And then when we've got plans for every suburb in Burnside, then we go out with one consolidated plan and say, this is everything, and then everything is ranked, because at the moment, what we have is you'll have the first cab off the rank, will get all the money. We've seen that we can't, people aren't voting to do precinct plans for later precincts, and presumably if you've already got a precinct plan, your incentive is never to vote for another precinct plan to make sure that your precinct plan gets spent on. So look, I just don't think it's fair. So I think we should keep it, have it in our pocket, put it on the website for people to have a look at and comment, but just don't spend $20,000, which we could potentially spend on a different study.
Councillor Wilkins, you have a question?
Yes, I do, through you to the staff. In the Spring Focus newsletter, did we not have a QR code which enabled people to sign into the survey to express their opinion? And if so, how many opinions have you received?
Through the Mayor, yes and no. It wasn't the full survey at that stage. It was to prompt awareness through the focus that these precinct plans were coming, and the reasons that we listed streets at that stage, because we believed it would be effective in people saying their street or lack of street in actually taking an interest in it and registering with Engage Burnside. So the survey, if approved by Council, will actually be released later this month. And hopefully the Focus magazine will have piqued enough interest and got enough people on Engage Burnside to get a good response rate.
Thank you.
I shall go back to the mover now. Councillor Hedge.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. Good debate. We've got 2 20-storey towers, Councillor Jones, in Cedar Woods coming, one or two. Anyway, they'll all go shopping up Stewart Road, Stewart Road to go shopping. The primary collectors there exceed daily volumes here on page 25 by 500 plus vehicles a day. We've got the Burnside War Memorial Hospital with 140,000 procedures going to happen in a couple of years' time. We've got a lot of traffic, and not to mention the nuances going on in the Eastwood ward. We have a lot going on in the inner city zone, and this is a great example of where the people are heard. There's planning by the people. People have put this information together. Engineers have collated it, with the staff. When they see this, they'll say, wow, I'm heard. I can see people feel what I feel every day on, for example, that red line there exceeding volume 500 vehicles on Giles Street, Stewart Road. People feel it. And they'll see this and think, right, been heard. Look, it might not happen for 10 years. We've got to get the funding, but at least we could start doing some strategic planning. And this is a great template, and we know how it can work elsewhere in the whole city. So for the greater good, we're learning how to do it, people are being heard, and we have planning for the people. That's all I can say. Please support it.
I'll put it to you all. All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Right, now we move to the next item, which was the 11.4, the appointment of council members to the council assessment panel, and that was to Councillor Jenny.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to nominate Councillor Jones and Councillor Dawes for these positions. Thank you.
Sorry, are you nominating them both for the position, or one for the position and one for the deputy? Right, so it's Councillor Jones for the position, yes, and Councillor Dawes as the deputy, is that correct?
Correct.
Are you both willing to accept that?
Now, I would like, on the second one, I agree with Councillor Jones that Councillor Wilkins be the, what are we calling it? The deputy. The deputy. I'd prefer if she was the deputy.
Therefore, you are nominating Councillor Wilkins.
Yes.
Are you willing?
I will withdraw.
All right, so you are not willing to stand. Councillor Wilkins, are you willing to stand as the deputy?
Okay, I'll stand.
All right, so Councillor Wilkins, are there any further nominations for the position or for deputy role? If there are not... Yes?
Sorry?
You do. You need to declare it though.
Material conflict of interest because it's a paid position.
Right. Would you please also declare? Sorry? There's no spiel because there's no vote.
I declare in a conflict of interest because this is a paid position.
It's a material conflict.
Material.
Thank you. No, we haven't yet. Can I have a seconder, please, for those two nominations? Councillor Cornish, you're happy to second them? Councillor Davey, did you have a question or? No. Is there anyone who has a question or wishes to discuss anything? Councillor Hallett, you're trying to find your button? Okay.
Can I just clarify?
No, Councillor Hallett first.
I'm not sure, so we're recommending Councillor Wilkins as a member and Jones as the deputy? The other way around.
Jones as the member, continuing on as a member, and yep, Councillor Wilkins continuing on as the deputy member.
Can I ask a question, please?
Of course.
How long has Councillor Jones been acting?
I believe it's 1 year.
Okay.
I'm getting a note from over there, yes.
Then I've just got a comment,
yes,
and that is that I don't have any problem, but I would like to see, I think if somebody has been acting as deputy, it would be good now for them to actually stand as the member. And I would like to actually see other members train up and have the experience on CAP. I personally don't want to be that person, but I thought there might be other new members who haven't had a role on CAP before to have some experience. So I would prefer to actually be voting for Wilkins first and a newer, or someone who hasn't had an opportunity as a deputy.
Thank you for your debate. Now, Councillor Dave.
Mine was just thank you, Mayor. Mine was just to clarify who was being nominated and then who was going to be deputy. So it's clear now. Thank you.
It's actually continuing with what is existing at the moment. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Otherwise, are you happy for me, Councillor Jennings, to put the motion?
Happy to put the motion.
I shall put the motion. Those in favour of those two nominations? Those against? Motion is carried. Now you can get them to come back in. Thank you. And while we're waiting for that to happen, you can have a look at item 11.5, which is the appointment of council members and independent members to the Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Davey.
Now what page?
It's page 143.
I have an alternative motion to this one. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I'll just, I'll read the motion, which with the help of the executive, I've tweaked in terms, and I'll explain why as I go through. That Council reappoints Peter Scargill to the position of Independent Member of the City of Burnside Audit and Risk Committee for a period of 3 years expiring 31st of December 2028. Requests Emma Hinchy provide an expression of interest to extend as Chair as the Independent Presiding Member of the Audit and Risk Committee for a period of 12 months from 1 January 26 to 31st December 26. Undertakes a secret ballot if required and appoints up to 2 council members as members of the Audit and Risk Committee for the period 1 January 26 and concluding at the end of the council term, and appoints as a proxy member to the Audit and Risk Committee to fill in for another council member who is a member of the committee and is unable to attend a committee meeting or part of a committee meeting for the period 1 January 26 and concluding at the end of council term. The reason for my change is that we've currently got a long-standing chair who's perfectly adequate, very efficient and is very much on the ball and very experienced, Emma Hinchy. Peter Scargill is, I believe, the same, and I think we would do well to reappoint him to the position. My concern is that we haven't seen an expression of interest from Emma Hinchy, which is, I believe, as should be in the terms of reference, I think we should have. But also the last expression of interest or application I have seen contains information from 2019, so it's a very dated data from Emma Hinchy, which, as was circulated this afternoon, you got an email from the director. So I think in that, in light of that, and because good governance is critical to this committee, I would request that we defer her appointment for a month, essentially, but ask her to provide her expression of interest with her CV to us to continue as the chair. And then that we just determine 2 council members and a proxy for the council member part of the committee. So I hope you'll support that. It's a bit convoluted, but I think in terms of good governance, I think that's what we need to do as a council. So hopefully someone will support that.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Turnbull.
Don't wish to speak, no thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak? Councillor Turnbull did second it, but she didn't wish to speak. Sorry, Councillor Cornish? Pardon? Yes. Oh, we've got to do the rest of the nominations. Sorry, apologies. Right, nominations. I'm going to self-nominate. I'd like to extend my time on the Audit Committee. Anyone else wish to nominate? Councillor Henschke, are you?
Oh yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Cornish.
Will you accept that nomination, Councillor Cornish? Right. Are there any further nominations? Councillor Jones?
I'll nominate Councillor Davey.
Councillor Davey, do you wish to accept?
No.
Right. Thank you. Right. Councillor Jennings?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Zing.
Councillor Zing, you wish to? No. Councillor Wilkins?
I'll nominate Councillor Harvey.
Councillor Jones?
Jones, sorry. Harvey
Councillor Jones, do you wish? No. All right. So at the moment we have 2. I'd like to nominate Councillor Dawes. No. All right, thank you. So there are... So at the moment, are there any further nominations? If there are not...
I would like to nominate Councillor Henschke as the proxy.
As a proxy, all right. Thank you. Do you wish to accept that nomination?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
You have been on the Audit Committee before, I know. Councillor Dawes?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Jones as a proxy.
Councillor Jones, will you accept it as that nomination as a proxy? All right. So we have... at the moment, we have 2 nominations for positions on the Audit Committee, Councillor Cornish and Mayor Monceau. We have, which doesn't require an election or a ballot, but we have 2 nominations for the proxy, which does require a ballot.
Madam Mayor, I withdraw from proxy.
You withdraw from
Thank
the
you.
proxy? All right, thank you, councillor Henschke. So that means we can now fill in the number 3, councillor Cornish and Mayor Monceau for the Audit and Risk Committee under item 3, and on item 4, councillor Jones as the proxy. Councillor Davey and councillor Turnbull, are you happy with those nominations and seconding, because it is part of your motion?
I'd like to see them written up.
Yeah, we're just waiting for that to happen.
Shall I sum up? Would you like me to sum up? Thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for your interest and for the nominations. That was very smooth without any ballots. I hope it's clear. I mean, this allows a very smooth process, and it doesn't delay any of the, as far as I can see, any of the appointments. But I think in governance terms and for our peace of mind, certainly my peace of mind, I think if we can delay the current chair, Emma's approval to rubber stamping until the next meeting, I'd be happy with that in governance terms. So I hope you'll support this motion. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Motion's carried. Now we can move on to Finance End of Month Report, page 151, and that's Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I move in accordance with the recommendation that Council receives the finance report for September. I just have 2 questions in relation to page 158. Under operating projects, we have the Wheel Park feasibility study, and I believe we have, I know this has been prepared at the end of September, I believe we have an appointment to the feasibility study. So my question is, who has been appointed to undertake the study and when will it commence? And then I have a second question about open space renewal, if I may.
Through the Mayor, we have an appointment made for the feasibility study and also a consultant to assist us with the consultation process if it proceeds to that one. Off the top of my head, I can't recall the names of them, but we are preparing an information document which will be submitted in detail tomorrow to all council members. So you'll have all of that information tomorrow.
Tomorrow, thank you. And now I've got my next question. Page 159, open space renewal. We're 11% down the term in progress at the end of September. Is that, I just wanted to clarify, is that tree planting, shrub planting, understory, or what other sort of renewal is that, please?
Through the Mayor, open space renewal relates to open space infrastructure with the asset management plans. So no, it's not trees and planting, that's your hard assets within parks, such as rubbish bins, benches, etc.
I need a seconder, please. Councillor Zing, you're seconding the motion? All right, thank you. Councillor Hallett, you have a question?
Oh, no.
Right. If no one wishes to speak on the seconding, and I've got no one on the screen, I'm going back to Councillor Davey to put the motion. All right, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Now we move to 11.8, the Chief Executive's report. Councillor Henschke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I'll just interrupt. Page 163.
Thank you. So I'll move with the officer's recommendation, but I wish to have the opportunity to refer to page 173 of 330, and we've got the status tables there for key activities. In particular, the Burnside War Memorial Hospital, we are in monitor council decision required status, orange. And what I wanted to raise awareness about is that the State Planning Commission Assessment Panel resolved, as it says there, that the proposed development is not considered seriously at variance with the planning outcomes, etc., etc. Just get to my page. So I felt that it's important for council and ratepayers to recognise the size and scale of this development. And the press release on the 26th of September 25 by the Health Minister picked and announced the approval says the $60 million redevelopment will allow the facility to treat more than 140,000 patients annually. The most recent annual reports don't list the number of patients treated per year, but the 2021 report listed 13,701 patients were treated in that financial year and 12,509 in 21-22. So we're looking at a 10-fold increase in patient numbers at the hospital. Day surgeries are predicted in that same press release to increase by 3,500 a year. This is going to represent a massive increase in traffic and parking requirements in the ward, in Toorak Gardens. Council needs to do a complete review of the relationship with this entity. Especially, we've got our precinct plans tonight. It's rather pertinent that we start thinking about how traffic's going to flow around that area. So this cancer treatment corporation is a private entity separate to the hospital, but connected through leases, etc., etc. You can go into it, but thank you for this. I just wanted to raise awareness a bit more for you because it was a very important day in the ERD court where we heard from residents all morning who made submissions, and then we heard from the applicant. I won't say much more than that, but just wanted to raise your awareness of the significance and recognising the size and scale of this development. Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull, are you willing to second?
I was going to speak, but I'll second. Speak.
All right. And you want to speak now? Straight away?
Thanks.
That's fine.
Yep. I'm referring to page 166, and I'm doing an underhand way of, because it's talking about trees, etc., and their health. My question is, when does the watering of the trees begin? Average time the trees are watered, and is there extra watering for the Stonyfell tree trial? 3.
Through the Mayor, I believe we answered questions on notice on that, those questions today, which were distributed, so you should have those responses on your desk.
Okay.
With respect to the Stonyfield watering, I'll have to take that one on notice. I'll get advice from the experts, and I will provide you that advice out of session.
Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull, could you turn your mic off, please? Councillor Davey, you have another question?
Thank you. Yes, I have a question. It relates to page 169 of the CEO's report, Resilient East update. And I'm a bit confused. Is Resilient East a part of Eastern Regional Alliance? And is this a project of Eastern Regional Alliance? And if so, is there some minutes or some sort of business plan that we can see from this partnership and the Disaster Ready Fund? Thank you.
Through the Mayor, Resilient East is a arrangement under the Eastern Region Alliance. That is not the case in other alliances. That it's a in other places like in the south and the west, it's a standalone organisation that is sponsored and funded through joint councils. However, Resilient East sits under the Eastern Regional Alliance. It has had a bit of a checkered history, but it has been successful in attracting the disaster resilience federal funding, which specifically for this climate action plan, which will be a joint arrangement with not only just the Eastern Regional Alliance, it also has Tea Tree Gully and the City of Adelaide involved specifically in Resilient East, and therefore it is in the early stages of developing a climate action plan for the whole region, and that will look at a whole raft of things and will need extensive communication with council members, with community, but also with the climate scientists as well, looking at projections, impacts on water, and also even the risks, corporate risks that relate to our own assets and infrastructure. So we're just in the really beginning stages of it, but the coordinator happily is located with us in with Dr. Phil Roteman's area. So we're keen to get moving on it, and it will be something that will be coming back to council members because I know this is of great interest to council.
Councillor Turnbull, you have a question?
Yes, I have two, please, about Era Water, page 172. It says work is progressing on stage 1 of the Strategic Water Management Review. Is this in-house or is there a consultant doing it? If so, who's the consultant?
Through the Mayor, it is, we have done it on our own, but we have got a consultant to do the work, and it's a firm, a company called H2O Horizons, and Mr. Steve Morton, who has got extensive experience as an economist, but also in urban water policy in state government, and also has his own consultancy and works with the former Water Minister, Carleen Maywald, in developing countries on urban water solutions. So he's undertaking that work, and the rationale for that is really twofold. Well, there's a number of elements to it. One is to actually understand what we need regarding access to water in the future for the city of Burnside. What are the options around where we can access that water, which may be SA water, groundwater, Glenelg, Adelaide pipeline, Era water. I think that's it. I think there might be others. So the idea is to look at where we can access water in a strategic planning way. It also will start unpacking what the financial risks are to us as a council specifically regarding Era water, and how the decision of Town of Walkerville to want to withdraw from the subsidiary. And it would also look to actually just educate everyone, given that we have done a lot of work through renewable energy, through our community renewables and our power purchase agreement. So through our power is now focusing on our water use. So that's why we're doing it. So we are progressing quite well, but there's a lot of elements to that work. But that again will be coming to council.
May I ask a second question, please, about Era Water? On reading the letter from Susan Close, Deputy, page 179, does that mean that unless there's Commonwealth Government support, the state government additional funding won't occur?
Through the Mayor, that is my understanding. So the $2.7 million project met the criteria of the Awesome program, but the funding that was provided was from the federal government and has been used up already and been allocated. We will be in the second tranche, and we're expecting to get some information and decision. I followed up today actually with a director in the Department of Environment and Water. So we're hoping we will find out shortly about whether we get that water. But I think when we look, there's a real push to actually try and reduce, because it's an efficiency measure which reduces how much we take from the River Murray. And so there's very much a big push, given climate impacts, drought, continuing drought across not just our state but other states, to reduce potable water use. So I'm expecting, I'm hopeful, but we'll find out.
Councillor Davey, you have another question?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, if I could go back to the Resilient East update. I'm a bit confused. So we're getting a new firm to review a new climate action plan. Is that in coordination with our existing council, or is it complementary to our council climate action plan? And how will we be involved in all this process so that we can provide input, please? And then I have another question about regional subsidiaries.
Let's get this one first.
Through the Mayor, all councils who have a climate action plan will feed into it. There is a steering committee that sits underneath the Eastern Regional Alliance, and including Teatree Gully and the City of Adelaide. So there's a steering committee, and they're just in the beginning stages. Like, they have gone out to tender to appoint, and that's only just recently happened. And so the planning out of workshops, which are starting internally with each council at a staff level, is what's been planned first. And then there will be workshops that are planned with council members. And how that will work, I don't know yet, whether it will be specific to each council or whether they'll do council members in a joint one. We'll see how that goes.
Councillor Wilkins, and then I think you had another one, Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Your Worship. To the CEO, I note the draft letter on page 187, which is the joint advocacy letter re the Greater Adelaide Freight Bypass. How many of the persons that you've sent the letter to in the 30 local government authorities, how many have responded and signed?
Through the Mayor, we're up to around 10 or 12. The challenge is that each council needs to take it to their chamber and to vote on it. So what's happening is that every individual council is writing to another council saying they support it, but there is no consolidated with every council, mayor and CEO signing it. So that creates a bit more power and influence, and so that is what we're proposing. So we're up to about 10 or 12. We'll be following up, and I think in that we said we would come back in November.
Can I just add to that it is actually part of the advocacy plan for the Local Government Association. So from that perspective, there are 68 councils that basically are supporting that as part of the general advocacy for the next election. But this is a more specific, this is about getting signatures, because then we can hit the people who need to be hit with a more consolidated, specific request.
The reason I ask this is because standing at the lights just out here tonight, 5 o'clock, in the time it took to change lights, 7 gigantic B doubles went through the intersection. And how anybody gets to the other side of the road when there is a green man illuminated on the crossing beats me, because I didn't even get, and I'm quite a good stride, I didn't even get to halfway across the road before it changed to red. So elderlies and people who are slow walking or need assistance, heaven help them. That is something we need to address. Cannot we extend the time of the green man so that people can actually get across the road before you get mown down by 7 giant B doubles? And the second part of the B double is like 2 ordinary semis. They're just becoming even longer. That concerns me.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Just getting back to Era Water, I note the comments of the CEO, and that we will be getting a briefing or a workshop in November. So that's another one to add to our summary, if we could have that, with all of them outlined. The other quick question I have is, with all our what are they called, residual, you know, Era Water, Highbury, East Waste. Can we have a schedule of when their CEOs are coming to address us? So if we could have, because I think we agreed somewhere that we would like them all to come, well, we have requested that they all come and address council at least annually, or is it biannually? But it seems to have fallen through the cracks, I mean, which was part of the problem with we had with BRSI. And I believe we're getting an update soon from Burnside War Memorial Hospital. Can we see a schedule, please, to see that they're all being scheduled and when they'll be coming, just so it gives us some sort of security about what's coming up. Is that possible?
Through the Mayor, yes, that is possible. We've had East Waste this calendar year. We've had, obviously today with Joan Russell, and we will have Burnside Memorial Hospital in November. So there will be Brownhill, Keswick Creek, Highbury Landfill Authority, really to go after that.
Right, I shall go back now then to Councillor Henschke. Are you happy for me to put the motion?
Oh yes, there's lots of information here, and thank you very much to the Chief Executive Officer. I'll just note that we do actually have a report schedule and briefing sessions timeline on page 175. I always find that very handy, so thank you.
Right. I need to put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Motion's carried. Now you have all got your answers to the questions that were on notice, and we have 13. We've now moved to 13.1, urban densification, which is Councillor Harvey. Page is 199.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the motion as recommended, and I would ask if Mr. Spearman would read that out for me, please. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, given that that's your motion on notice and there hasn't been any changes, there probably isn't a need to read it out because it forms part of the agenda.
I just thought for people at home to know what it's about, and so that it doesn't take up my time.
Well, through the Mayor, it's the same as all the other motions that are the officer's recommendation. They're not read out because they form part of the agenda for the people at home.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Increasingly, our residents are being subjected to neighbouring building renovations and noise, dust and light pollution from tennis courts and landscaped lighting. Our residents need to be more protected and supported with these ghastly building site disturbances. These factors impact health, well-being, sleep, comfort and quality of life. Construction sites bring noise and heavy vehicles to the areas, making it impossible for residents to get out of their driveways. This creates stress, anxiety and irritability when the types of construction and renovations can take years, resulting in lack of privacy and comfort. Dust brings respiratory issues, allergies and residents simply not able to open windows for fresh air. Residents have a right to enjoy peace and quiet in their homes. In some cases, continued prolonged construction and light intrusion can also decrease property values. Tennis court lighting must only be operated until 10:30 p.m. and not before 7:30 a.m. I have a 98-year-old resident who is being subjected to tennis court lighting on at all times of the night and sometimes all night. This just simply cannot be tolerated. We are getting numerous complaints of these instances affecting our residents' well-being, quality of life, mental health, comfort and sleep deprivation. It simply is not acceptable. Light intrusion not only affects people but also our wildlife. Landscaped light installations light up houses and consequently neighbouring properties like Christmas trees till all hours of the night. This is not okay nor acceptable for a healthy environment. Light intrusion occurs when artificial light from a neighbouring property spills onto someone's home, causing unwanted brightness. Light becomes a nuisance when it is persistent or regular, unnecessarily bright or poorly directed, which affects sleep. Property owners have a duty to use lighting responsibly, minimising impact on neighbouring properties. Whilst these installations are intended for recreation or aesthetic purposes, the unintended consequences are real and significant for neighbours. As you will see on my questions on notice, for the last year, up to date, we have 194 residents complaining about noise. We have 14 complaints about light and 48 about dust. So the problem is real, and I hope you will support this motion. Thank you.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Jones.
I'll reserve my right.
All right. Councillor Davey, you wish to speak?
Yes, I'm happy to speak in support of this motion. It's a huge balancing act with all of the increasing urban densification that we're undertaking, or is being undertaken now in Burnside. And so we're getting more and more homes where people are trying to live their best lives, often with incredibly small building sites next door where the equipment and the detritus spills out onto the street, affecting the parking and amenities just getting around the area, plus the noise from the tradies and just the general activity on the construction site. The other flip side is often intrusive lighting, and it would be really good to know what the standards are and how we apply those. In the bigger properties, there's some fantastic, wonderful tennis courts that fortunate people have got. And I think when we development approvals given, they are given constraints. But there's also the noise that's increasing in our communities. So I think to find out all of these, to update all of our knowledge on this, I think this report would be really beneficial, and to find out how we can manage this so that we've got the most up-to-date support we can give our residents so that their residential, and for those businesses affected too, their amenity is supported. So I hope you'll support this too.
Councillor Hallett.
I've got a question. Councillor Harvey mentioned about 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
10:30 p.m. till 7 a.m.
10:30 to 7. And actually I didn't know that, and I've got a court behind me that they play on until 12, and it's not so much the light, it's just they're very competitive, and the language, and it goes on to 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. My question is, what are the constraints and who are they provided by? Is it through the development code at the time that they apply for to build the tennis court, and who polices it? Do we police it?
Through you, Your Worship. I mean, the report will be more comprehensive in the answer, and the report will answer all of these things. But there's not one answer to that question. For example, noise is not always controlled by the council. There are certain things that the council does control under the new, not so new, but relatively new Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act. So noise can be a nuisance, but there are exemptions to that. And one of those exemptions is effectively people noise. So in that case, that becomes then a SAPOL matter. So it's not just SAPOL dealing with things, it's not just the council dealing with things, sometimes there's a bit of both. Light can be controlled through a planning assessment if there has been one, or it could potentially be a nuisance under the Local Nuisance and Litter Control Act. So it'll be situation and circumstance dependent. But yes, the report will sort of flesh that out in a bit more detail, so you can see that forever in a report format.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hallett. Turn your mic off, thank you. Now, next is Councillor Dawes.
Yes, a question for Mr Heinrich here. I'm reading this motion, and I just want to check that when we're talking about neighbouring premises with tennis courts, we're talking about tennis clubs as well, and perhaps other sports that have lighting when the report comes back. I'm not sure if Councillor Harvey wanted to include those, but I think it would be a good idea.
Through your worship, but in the absence of anything specific, we would take neighbours to include a tennis club.
You would? Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hedgkey.
A question for the to the administration, through you, please. So I guess this will be done in-house with officers, and a lot of this is information's readily available. I guess the question I have then is, what else are we going to get from this report? What value will we get? There's a lot of stuff that's already covered. Legislation covers all of this, and does this also include Christmas lights? You know, I was wondering if the scope included Christmas time and how the City of Burnside manages that, or have we got that covered in some other policy as well? I'm not sure. Christmas lights, you know, 9 to 5.
Through your worship, we've never dealt with Christmas lights before.
Right, okay.
I'm not sure we want to start.
Well, this is why I was wondering why this report is needed, you know. Is it about Christmas lights or what, you know?
To answer the first question, I guess it will be a handy one-stop shop.
Right.
So the question is correct, and it will be a compilation of legislation that's already readily available, but it'll come as a guide or a one-stop shop that can be referred to later on.
Oh, that's helpful.
I guess is the answer to that.
But not Christmas lights.
We'll cover Christmas lights.
You'll cover it, good. Not that I really mind them.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Have the state government nuisance legislation recently been updated? I seem to have remembered. And if so, what do they cover? What the laws cover in respect of many of the things that have been raised in this motion?
Through the worship, it has been updated since its first inception. It's a 2016 Act, but came into operation progressively in the year or 2 years after that. The big thing that's come in more recently in the last couple of years is light. The light was not in the original iteration of the Act. The key nuisances in the first iteration were noise and dust. Smoke and odour, I guess, as well, but noise and dust were the big things. But the EPA did follow up consultation with the community about the operation of the Act and how the community felt it could be improved. And as a result, out came light. And there will be some changes as well around shopping trolleys as a form of litter.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. I just a question for the administration, whether or not this is a part 2 after our parking of Love Where You Live, but maybe it's, you know, it's all about respecting your neighbours and where you live, but this might be another little mini campaign involved with the Love Where You Live in terms of be respectful of your neighbours when you've got a tennis court or something like that. So just wondered whether or not that could be a hook in the report.
Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Christmas lights. So many different cultures celebrate many different things during the year. Perhaps we should use the term celebration lights and not Christmas lights, just to be respectful of all cultures, religions, etc. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Look, I'll speak to the motion. I do welcome this motion. Big floodlights are a massive problem in the Hills Face zone. If you drive up to Mount Osmond, you don't even need to drive up to Mount Osmond, you only need to drive to Glen Osmond, and you can see searchlights from people who seem to be expecting the Luftwaffe soon to be dropping bombs on Burnside. And historically, we've just had to say, well, you grin and bear it. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's really annoying for people. I've had, away from the Hills Zone, in Linden Park, I've had blood feuds between neighbours over security lights shining into neighbouring premises, and just getting really, really nasty. And again, historically, it's just been, well, stick some blackout blinds up. And I agree, tennis courts. And certainly my experience of tennis courts is the later at night, the rowdier the tennis players become, no doubt fueled by, yes. I have to say, I didn't realise there was a 10:30 curfew, but that would certainly be useful to have in our Bible as councillors for when residents give us a call. So I hope you will support the motion.
Councillor Henschke.
Another question for the administration. It refers to intrusive lighting, other intrusive lighting. Will that include your report about developers with security lighting on construction sites at night, all night? Say if you're building a multi-storey building or a commercial place, there's always going to be a big floodlight thing there for security, and that can just be all night, every night for a year, and they're big lights. So other intrusive lighting, will you include that aspect? Because that then ties in with the development approval and all of that. Thank you.
Through your worship, we'll cover off on that issue.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkins.
Yes, thank you. To staff, residential amenity and light spills. What if the light spill is coming from SA Power Networks pole in a pedestrian lane alongside the house, and the globe, shines right into the property, the person's property, but it doesn't actually shine down north-south of the laneway? Should that be at the residents' cost to get that light globe changed direction? Is my question. Should it not be at Power Networks to actually consider that if there's new legislation relighting?
Through the worship, there are a range of things that are exempt from the Act, like infrastructure works in relation to light and noise and light from street lights. Complaints, so therefore it would be in that case a complaint to the provider directly, from the residents of Power Networks.
So the resident should direct his or her complaint to SA Power Networks. Thank you.
Just before I move back to Councillor Harvey, Councillor Jones has mentioned the major issue we have on Mount Osmond, which is a person who has massive spotlights, sensor-related, you would see them from your place, Councillor Jennings, that come on as soon as a car pulls up outside his house and dares to look at the view. And those lights come on, and I'm particularly concerned about the impact it has on wildlife. And not just in the Hills Face, but everywhere. We're trying to develop wildlife corridors, and we're doing our best to prevent the wildlife from being there because of these lights that come on automatically or sensorised, purely because of selfishness neighbours who aren't considerate of other people who actually live in that same suburb. So thank you very much for bringing the motion, and I'll go back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your input. Whilst we know that construction is necessary for development, the resulting light and noise pollution can have serious negative effects on our community. Responsible practices and stricter enforcement are essential to balance progress with the well-being of our residents. It's disturbing for them, with noise resulting in stress, sleep issues, mental health issues, light intrusion with disrupted sleep, discomfort and privacy loss, dust and air pollution with respiratory problems, dirt and health risks, and constant disruption is reducing well-being and quality of home life for our residents. Residents do have a right to enjoy peace and quiet in their homes, and I hope you will support this motion. Thank you.
All those in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Now, I'm going to suggest that we have a 10-minute break now. Because we're having the 10-minute break, I'm just wondering whether we should move into confidence first.
No, break first and then...
Break first?
Yeah.
All right, because otherwise people have to... Well, that's what I'm thinking, yeah. That's the only thought I had in terms of making that suggestion. If we went into confidence, then people could go home.
Well,
Otherwise, they're going to hang around for another 10 minutes.
Well,
Okay.
maybe allude that we'll be going into confidence
All right.
immediately after the break.
Okay, that's fine. So at least people know we will be moving into conference. So I need a motion to move to take a break. Councillor Jones, Councillor Wilkins, the second. All those in favour of taking a 10-minute break now? We will resume at 9:21. Thank you. Right, we have a quorum, so we can restart the meeting. And I seek someone who might like to move that we go into confidential mode. We are up to 13.2, the publication of the report. Is there someone who would like to move a motion that we go into confidence? For 13.2, page 202. Councillor Wilkins.
Yes, Your Worship, I will move that we go into confidence.
Right. And I seek a seconder. Councillor Davey. Right, all those in favour of going into confidence? Those against?